today what we're going to do is we're working on graphing quadratic functions again, but it's going to be a little bit different. It's going to be something called vertex form. It's actually easier than the other way. In the past, when we had equations, we had it in the form y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. That was the old form. And the first step in doing this was picking out our a, b, and c and doing our vertex. And I had to do a ton of work. I had to put it in the form x equals negative b over 2a. And then I needed to plug it in the equation. I had to come up with my vertex. Remember that? It was like super painful. Okay, that's what I had to do before if I was graphing the parabola. Today what we're going to do is we're going to do something called vertex form. Okay, same type of graph. It's still a quadratic. It's just a little bit easier to graph. And you'll see why in just a minute. Okay. So one thing to be aware of when you're doing vertex form is the h in the equation is your x for the vertex. And your k in the equation is your y for the vertex. So you just look at that equation and you can immediately know what the vertex is, as opposed to put it in that other form. Okay? Your axis of symmetry is x equals, and you take the x from the vertex. If a is positive, the graph opens up, and it's considered a minimum. Yep. And if it's negative, the graph opens down, which means it's a maximum. That's correct. All right? Let's take a look at this equation. First of all, we're going to pick out the parts. So I'm going to pick out the a. The a is what? The number out front of the parentheses is? It is -1. That is correct. Now, granted, there's no number there, but because that negative is there, it's assumed it's a -1. Okay. Now, my h. H can be kind of confusing. Okay. You're going to notice in the original equation, it said parentheses x minus h parentheses. Yes? This is the original equation or the form. Okay. You'll see it says x minus h. Do you see how in the equation here it's x plus 2? Do you see that? So your h is actually -2. And when you think of it, I think of it as the opposite of what's there. So if it has a +2, it's actually -2. That's correct. If it's a -2, then it's a +2. Okay, so think of it as the opposite. And then k is 3. So I'm just taking stuff out of the equation, and notice that it's not very difficult. All right, step 2 and 3 kind of go together. The vertex is h, comma, k. And so in this instant, my vertex is -2, comma, 3. And we'll plot it in just a minute. And the axis of symmetry is x equals -2. So really, once you have those things picked out, this is super easy. This is not tough. It's just picking it out of the equation. So I'm going to go ahead then, and I'm going to go to my graph. I'm going to go to -2, 3, which is where my vertex is. And then I'm going to plot my axis of symmetry. Question? Right. Now it's asking me to make a table. All right. So I'm going to go back through, and I know what my vertex is. So this actually Goes pretty easy. I'm going to make my H table. And I know what the vertex is. I don't have to do a lot of work, I just pluck it out. Now, I'm going to make a table like I did before. What's one value larger than -2? -1. Now just remember, order of operations with us. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. This is a good review for your NWA tests that are coming up next week. What do I do first? Parentheses. What do I get in the parentheses?
3.
It's +1. Can I do a chop-chop? I cannot. Do you notice there's a negative out front? I can't chop those because I have a squared. Okay, so don't get into the, karate chop move and just start, don't do that. All right, now what do I do? Exponent. So what do I get? I get 1. And then -1 plus 3 is 2. No, it's -1 plus 3, so it's 2. Oh, right. The next number then that's smaller is -3. Okay, what do I do first? Parentheses. What do I get? -1 squared, right? Now what? Yes, what do I get? Good thing or bad thing? Really good. Amazingly good, right? If I don't get those two to match,
You're in trouble.
you're in trouble. You did something wrong. Okay. We okay? Questions? Okay, so I'm going to graph those. Okay, so -2, 1. Does it ask me, oops, does it ask me to solve? No, it just asks me to graph. How many solutions would this thing have? 2. And if I wanted to find out where that happened, what could I do? Add more numbers in to get 0 for y, right? Okay. Remember, this is the vertex. This is the axis of symmetry. Okay, it's going to ask you for that today. -2, 3, x equals -2. It's going to ask you for that stuff today. It's not going to ask you to solve today, but know how to do that. Questions? All right, any questions before we go on to the next one? All right, let's go on to the next one. Only reason why I'm doing it is just to see another example of what this looks like. Okay, step 1 is to do what? Yeah, pick out my stuff, right? What's my A? It's 1. What's my H? -1, remember it's the opposite. What's my K? It is also -1. Okay, what's step 2? I need the axis of symmetry. First of all, what is my vertex? 1 comma negative 1, and so my axis of symmetry is x equals negative 1. Okay, so I can go ahead and I can graph that. Negative 1, negative 1. Axis of symmetry. Should this, excuse me, this parabola, should it open up or open down?
Up.
Why up?
Oh, because A is positive.
Because A is positive, that's correct. Okay? So now I got done with that, now what do I do?
Table.
I need a table. See how quickly this goes? If you can pop this stuff out, it's really easy. Now, so you just plug in my vertex. What's 1 bigger?
0.
0. Yep. What do I do first? Parentheses, what do I get? 1 squared. Y equals 1 minus 1. So y equals 0. Okay, what's 1 smaller? What do we get? 1 squared, negative 1 squared is
1.
It's fun in a weird sort of way, right? Good thing, bad thing?
Good thing.
Good thing. The great review of order of operations, which is something that you're going to see next week. Okay, so then if I graph this, zero. Okay, notice that I actually solved it. Did you notice that? Yeah, I got 2 solutions. So if they asked me to solve it, I could go 2 solutions. What would they be? 0, 0, and negative 2, 0. Yep. And I could also say, you know, this is my vertex. That's negative 1 comma negative 1. I can tell them that this is my axis of symmetry at x equals negative 1. I can give them a ton of information on this thing. Now, when you graph this, they will not ask for solutions today. They will not. All they'll ask you to do is to label your vertex and axis of symmetry, but it's good to know that it's out there. Any questions? Something you don't understand? Okay, that is it for today then.